right.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Mortgage Brew. It's been a little bit of time that I've taken off with family and now trying to get back at it. But hey, we got a good guest today. We got Kelly Cammack with HomeSmart Realty. She's in our Pocatello area, and she's here to kind of give us a breakdown of the fun side and the scary side of real estate and being a realtor in the market that we're in. So, first off, Kelly, how are you?
I'm good. We got our drinks.
Yes,
This is the Mortgage
coffee.
Brew.
You got to have coffee.
I need you to tell everybody what you're drinking.
Well, good. So I went. So the Huddle, which is where HomeSmart's office is right beside Gate City Coffee, and that's a plug because I love some Gate City Coffee. Honestly, we got really good coffee spots everywhere in Pocatello, and that doesn't include any national chains. We've got 3 or 4 that are just mom and pop shops here that have good causes. But anyways, long story short, so Gate City Coffee is right beside the Huddle, and they always have a couple seasonal coffees that they put out, and this one is the peanut butter banana mocha. I mean, full-fledged girly latte is what I've got today.
Diabetes in a cup.
Diabetes in a cup. Oh yeah, we were talking about a diet before, and this is what we went with.
Listen, it's yummy. I get it.
I know. I'm excited about it, and I'm not a big. I don't like peanut butter that much, but I do like it in drinks like this. I can handle it.
So I'm drinking a peach green tea this morning only because I kind of woke up with a sore throat. I'm not sure if I'm getting sick.
You get coffee every day though?
I get coffee. I already drank some coffee at home, but you know what I've been obsessed with?
What's that?
Matcha. Do you like matcha?
No. It's weird.
I'm gonna make you one, and you're gonna try it. I know it can taste like grass, but mine has so much sugar in it.
So what else do you put in it?
Lavender. I put lavender syrup in mine.
Is it all is that for? And lavender is supposed to be for easing your making you feel calm.
Yes, it's like a stress relief thing. I just like how it tastes. It sounds pretty too. Lavender.
It does sound good, but the whole matcha part is the part that I can't. And then that boba balls or whatever they put in there too.
I love boba. They don't always put boba in matcha though. You can get one that doesn't have boba in it.
Well, good. So I know that coffee is my drive for the real estate game and the mortgage game that we live in. But no. So today, we kind of want to dig into how long have you been a realtor, Kelly?
So I got licensed at the very end of 2017. I was a marketing assistant before that. So I worked for Elias. We had a real estate group that was called the 208 group.
The 208. He still uses that name occasionally. I see it.
Yeah. That was for years and years and years. We had a team, and I wasn't licensed. I was just in college for a while when I first met him. And so I was kind of just shadowing him. And I just did his marketing. So I have a degree in mass communication and graphic design. So he took full advantage of that. And I did all of his marketing materials, and I did videos for him. I would take his pictures at his listings, design flyers and door hangers for him, did his social media.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, this is cool. I want to get my license too. And so I got licensed at the end of 2017, which was also the year I graduated from college and also the year I got married.
A lot.
Just a little bit. Just
like
changes.
Full 180 change of my life. I'm going to do it all together.
It was all at once. Yep. It was luckily at the end. So by 2018, I've considered 2018 my first full year in real estate. And I closed a whole 3 transactions.
That's average, right?
Actually, yeah. The average 49% of realtors closed 1 or less deals last year.
Yeah, it was a hard year. On top of that's just a normal standard anyway. So
yeah, I think maybe closer to like 12 is probably like the average for realtors. But no, many of them are just sort of doing it on the side or whatever. Yeah. But anyway, so I did 3 deals my first year, and then 9 deals, and then 18 deals, and then 24 plus every year since then.
Yeah,
except for last year. Last year was so hard.
It was a hard market,
which I remember you talking about on your last podcast. But yeah, it was hard. But anyway, so yeah, I've been doing real estate since 2017 technically.
All right, so we got married, or not you got married in 17. How's family life? How are they doing?
Good. So I have a son. He is 4. He's going to start kindergarten in the fall. And then my daughter is 1. They both have birthdays in May, so they turn 2 and 5 in May.
You did that too. We
Yeah.
got 2 birthdays in May and
Do
2
you?
birthdays in June.
It's kind of nice. Do your kids share birthday parties?
So now, yes, because they're young enough that I don't think it bothers them, but I think in time it will have to be split.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought too. I was like, you know what, when we have all of our both of our parents, me and Mike's parents and grandparents, they all live far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just make them come into town once a year, and we just have one birthday
That's smart,
party.
though.
It's nice. So this year the theme is going to be Bluey for my daughter and Pokemon for my son. So it's a
Nice.
Bluey
And you go all
Pokemon.
out. Like, you do a good job setting it up.
I try to be chill, but I can't. I just love throwing parties. It's so fun. But yeah, no, mom life is good. And I was just reflecting this week actually on how fun it is to be a realtor and a mom, because I can take my kids to the park. We can do fun stuff. They
Yeah.
can come with me to my showings if they need to. They are in daycare 3 days a week, so I can do stuff like this, or take appointments and, meet with buyers and whatnot without them coming. But the rest of the time they're with me, and they've come along. Isaiah was like maybe 3 weeks old when he came to his first closing with me, and we have pictures of it. It's really, really cute. But
she's got cute kids.
Well, thank you.
And they're good. I mean, I've never, I don't know. I think all kids are better out of the house, but
They are.
but they're always respectful, and when they are here, and that is something that I also love about our industry, is that we are a family first industry. We work a lot. We work all the times, different hours. It's not an 8 to 5 job. It doesn't end just because the clock hit 5 o'clock.
No,
but we are allowed to have a family first focus in our life and give that to our kids, give that to our spouses. So it's great. Great.
And I've seen you bring baby Gracie out.
Yep. So yeah, and Gracie will be 1 in May. Oh.
What's her birthday?
May. Hers is the 16th,
Okay.
and then we have another little girl, and she'll be 6 this year, but hers is the 14th, so they're right there behind each other.
They're really 2 days apart. That's funny.
So but no, we have fun. Same situation in our family. We have 5 kids total, 4 that live with us most of the time, and they keep us entertained all the time.
I know it.
So luckily,
imagine.
2 of them are in school, and we can kind of mitigate. Excuse me, all 3 of them are in school because this year Emery is in kindergarten. But yeah, so having 3 in school and just having Gracie when I do need to take her other places, like today, like I have her today. I'm working from home, except for this situation. We have a great grandmother that helps us in those times, so it's good. So real estate, man. What an industry. Where have we been this past year? And well, let's say last year and the start of this first quarter have kind of been a little bit of a roller coaster. So give me some good advice as a realtor to realtor. So if a realtor's watching, what's some advice that you can give them of the goods and the bads? So we can start off with the bads and we'll end with the goods. So what's some scary things that have occurred in your tenure of being a realtor?
So you'll appreciate this. And I wouldn't even say it's scary or bad or anything. It was a big waste of my time is all we're going to call it. But you'll appreciate this because you're a lender. But during that first year when I closed a whole 3 deals, I have never worked harder. I've never been rejected more than that first year.
Understand.
And one of the things that I did do that year was I got this referral from a friend, which was so nice. And it was for a guy who worked at ICCU because that's where she worked. Well, I won't say names other than ICCU. Names. But anyway, so he worked there and he told me that he had talked to a lender at ICCU and he was good to go. So I said, okay, great. Let's go. Let's go shopping. Let's go house shopping. He told me the price range he wanted to be in. Yeah. And back then you could get a lot for like not a lot of money.
Oh my gosh, that's changed.
Yeah. And there was good inventory. So anyways, we go and we look. I think we looked at probably 4 or 5 houses. We decided on one. He really liked it. And I said, okay, let's write the offer up. So we excitedly write, and by we, I mean me, excitedly write the offer up. He was excited too, but and I had never written up an offer before. And I remember we were sitting at Starbucks and I was trying to write up the offer, and I don't know what it was. We kept needing to go back and like add something to the offer or fix it. And every time I would go back to the offer, it would clear it completely out. I had to start back over from scratch. I felt like such an idiot, but I was like, I'm sorry, it keeps crashing and I don't know why.
Give me a day.
Oh my God, it was so bad.
You were at KW at that time,
I
right?
was at KW,
Yeah.
yeah. And then anyway, so we write the offer up. It actually got accepted. That was
Nice.
exciting.
So
Yep.
your first offer you wrote got
Yep.
accepted?
Yep.
That's good.
And then we went, actually, no, that wasn't the very first one. We did write up, I remember
Okay.
another offer, and it was outbid. And so
Okay.
this was probably the second one though. And then it got accepted. We go through the inspection, and he has it inspected, and we're through the inspection contingency, which is when you have the chance to ask for the seller to do
Right.
repairs. That's also your chance to back out if you're going to terminate and get your earnest money back. But anyway, so we're moving forward. And then at that point, I had not even talked to the lender one time before this point. Brooks, I know. I know.
Oh goodness.
So I call Katya. Oh shoot. Yeah, Katya. That's fine.
Yeah,
She's
Katya's good.
she's the good. Yeah, she's the good guy in this scenario. But she was like, Kelly, he cannot buy a house right now.
Oh
He
man.
is not qualified. I did not tell him he could purchase a house. He needs to do X, Y, and Z to fix his whatever credit or debt or whatever it was that was the problem. And he literally can't qualify for this house.
Oh.
And so I had to go back and terminate the offer and tell the seller, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm so sorry. We got your hopes up. We sold your house, and I didn't do my due diligence.
Yeah,
And so
it's a lesson.
it was a huge lesson. It was a big waste of time for those poor sellers, a big waste of time for that agent.
Lots of
That
money.
buyer spent money on an inspection that didn't matter. I mean, and it's not the buyer's fault. I think he just didn't really understand that he had to wait, or, like that it would be a big deal if he just went ahead and bought a house. So, big, big, big lesson learned. If there's any advice I have for another realtor, it's talk to the lender.
Just get a pre-approval letter.
Yes.
That will save you. Honestly, I don't think a lot of buyers, just people in outside of our industry, understand that we don't make money on any transaction until the closing table. So when things fall apart, you technically worked for free in those
Yeah.
situations.
We don't want things to fall apart.
No,
That's my biggest thing, is I don't want to waste anybody's time. And
right.
so it's like, I'm not going to make people clean their house, leave during dinner time for a showing, get out of the house for an inspection. Like, it's
It's a
not
lot.
ethical. Yeah. And so, and you know what? I actually had a really good buyer's consultation with some new buyers this last week. And I told them that we are not looking at one house until you're pre qualified. And I know what amount you're pre qualified for, because I do not want them to fall in love with a house that they cannot afford.
Yeah, and that's a good theory to have. Yeah, because you can have champagne taste on a beer budget real easily in the industry that we are in. And yeah, and you can get very discouraged when you see what another, even a $50,000 increase gets you in a home.
Yeah.
And that qualification changes, right? So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now I always make sure my buyers have a pre-qualification letter. We know exactly what budget. We're not looking at anything above that price range.
That's nice. I mean, I think it's smart. And just having that initial conversation with your buyer at the beginning is like, hey, this is the reason I do it. And these are the steps we need to take so that we're securing a good deal and we're not hurting each other's. You're not getting in the way of making a good decision for them, and they're not making bad decisions throughout the process that are going to come up and bite them in the end. So,
Yeah.
Good. So, I would say a horror story, but also, like you said, it's a learning. I mean, I've had my share of learning when it comes to the mortgage world. There's a lot that goes on. I love numbers. I love talking to people, and I hate saying no. So I
I
get it.
know.
I get
Yeah.
it.
It is hard. That's definitely a big one. You
But
don't want to
finding
say
a
no.
ways to get that path from, I try not to say no. Is what I try to say. Look, we're just not there yet.
Yeah. It's a not yet.
It's a not yet. Yep. And you just got to work your way through these things. If you can get it, get to this point, we can start looking. But if you go this much further, your likelihood of finding a good house, a house that you're going to like, is even better. So there are definitely ways to do it. And honestly, prior to getting into this industry, I was blind to what it really takes to get a real estate transaction to go from A to Z. So it's good to hear your part on that side. So the first step definitely for buyers out there is to always go and talk to a lender. Well, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to a realtor if you find a house you like, or talking to them initially and kind of get an idea of what that process looks like. But talk to a lender in
Yep.
the initial stages so that you can find out what your price point is, find out what it takes to get you approved, and you're not, like you said, you're not over shopping and getting discouraged when you find something that is actually in your price point.
Yeah, I would say even if people do talk to a realtor first, they're a good realtor is going to make sure that you have a pre-qualification or you're
Yep.
in connection to a good lender. And if they don't bring that up or they don't ask for it, I would question them
Yeah.
because then they're probably going to do what I did,
Yeah.
and
And
they
there's
don't
nothing
know.
wrong with learning. And
Yeah,
I think you address that the right way. I mean, we're humans, so we're going to learn through this process too. We are more knowledgeable than most people that come into this process, but yeah, we got to learn, and owning that is a good thing. So that's a scary life lesson or real estate lesson
it
that you
was a
learned.
career lesson for Kelly, that's for sure.
What's a star lesson? What's a hey, I really did good on this one.
I would like to brag about some of my buyers who are younger. I really love working with people my age.
Yeah,
I'm 28, so millennials are
young.
like my favorite clients to work with. People are buying their first houses, and
I love first time home buyers too.
it's just so rewarding to see somebody buy their first house, and maybe it's smaller or a bit cheaper, or
You
maybe
know,
even.
but when if you go into it and tell them this is not going to be your last
That's the
house,
thing. You have to tell them this is probably not forever home. You
yeah,
got to just, can you live here for at least 2 years?
right.
Once you've lived there for 2 years, you can sell it without paying capital gains taxes.
Listen to that. Say that again, Kelly.
Live in your home for at least 2 years. You will avoid having to pay so much money.
Yeah,
So anywhere you can live for at least 2 years, do it.
yep,
If you can afford it and you can make do, I would say do it. Especially if there's room for adding equity to a house, I'm talking paint and flooring, like cheap stuff.
yep.
That's not super
You're
expensive,
not
but that's
redoing
the
a kitchen or
yeah, you don't have to redo bathrooms. There are ways and you could
yeah.
do that if you know how, but the easiest thing is to redo the paint or the flooring and do some landscaping, and you're going to add so much equity. That's the first thing that buyers look at when they tour a house is the colors, the
Isn't that the
paint and
truth? I
flooring.
did that. I
Mhm.
even did that with the house that I bought recently. I looked at the pictures online and I was like, "Oh, this is not
Mhm.
what I want."
You can't see past
And
it, huh?
I bought the house
Oh.
because Tasha, my wife, was like, "Brooks, we're gonna go see it." Like I had already had one picked out. I was ready. I knew the house that I wanted to go see. We went and saw both of those houses.
Mhm.
I hated the house that I loved online. Pictures are lies sometimes.
Mhm.
They can
You
make
can't
pictures look
see
good.
it. Mhm.
Well, just like for example, in this house, and I won't give addresses, but the house that I really, really liked, the kitchen looked grand, like fantastic in the pictures.
Mhm.
But you get there and it's a triangle, small space, and I was like, I like to. I like to have guests. I like to host people, and I like to cook. And that wasn't going to work for me.
You need a bigger
Yeah,
kitchen.
I mean that was it. Once I saw that, I was like, this is not going to be the house. But in the picture, and me looking at it online, I was like, that's what I want.
Mhm. It's
So my
deceiving.
wife had picked out this other one because it had the space, it had the rooms that we wanted. It was actually bigger than what we needed at the time, but we knew we wanted another child. And then like the yard and just the area was great, but the colors. We had a full rainbow in this house. Every
A
bedroom
full rainbow?
we had 6 different bedrooms
The
that all
Skittle
have
house?
6 different colors, and it was not enticing to me to even go look at it. And she's like, "We're gonna go look at it." I was like, "Okay, we'll go look at it." And then you get there, and like you said, it's just paint. Now, I'm not gonna tell you that labor of paint is fun and easy, but if you do it yourself, you can save a ton of money and you change the entire look of the house and you make it what you want it. So I think
I
you're spot on that.
Yes. See, this is why I love Tasha. She
Yeah,
could see past it.
she did.
She's so smart. Good job, Tasha. Good investment. And I know where you live, and it's a great location, which
Right.
is, I would say, location and layout of the house is like the most important thing.
Agreed.
You can't really change how, where's unless you're Chip and Joanna Gaines, but like, you really can't change where's the kitchen and the bathroom, where's
Yeah.
everything located, but you can change the paint and you can change floor and you can change, accents. And there's lots of things that you can do to add, equity and to make your house worth more when you go to sell it. And
Yeah.
I have a great paint guy. So if you buy a house and it's disgusting and ugly, let me know and I will hook you up with an
A
amazing
good
painter.
paint person.
Yeah, he's really good. So, anyways, I okay, so and I don't know if I necessarily have like a specific I have this client who she purchased her house. I think she might have been like 20 or something. She was pretty young.
First home, that's nice.
Yes, and I think it was close to like 90 grand. Okay, so she paid for her first house. I think she must have got a first time home buyer's loan.
Yeah.
Which how much down do you need for?
So an FHA loan is 3.5% down.
So what's that out of 90 grand?
So you were looking at
like 8-9 grand.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Um,
not that much actually.
Oh, not that much.
Yeah, because you're looking at 900 times 3, so about 2,500. So no, now you got me going. I got to do my math.
Yeah, do your math. But anyway, so she paid 3%, which we'll find out what amount that is. 3% of 90 grand.
Oh, 90. If I can do this correctly. Yeah, it'd be 3,100.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's
$3,000 was her
down payment.
Down payment. Okay.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
I just got chills. Anyways, so she purchased this house for $3 grand. That was her initial investment. She worked for a couple of building supply places, Home Depot.
Also, she had a good idea.
She knows what she's doing. So she redid paint and floor. Maybe landscaping too. I can't remember. Anyway, she did very minimal. She didn't do a ton, but she did do some little things, and she took really good care of the house. And actually, I think she might have done the bathroom vanity too,
and that's not hard either.
No, and not a big house. I mean, I think it's 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom.
Yeah,
not big.
That was my first house.
Just over 1,000 square feet. Little backyard. And then she sold it in, I want to say 2020 or 2021.
So is this a 3-year period?
I think it was about 3 years before. Yeah, 3 years. She sold it for $150.
Oh my gosh.
So she's
60K.
made what is that? $60K is what she made. She used that for her next down payment, which she paid
And that's smart.
Yep. She paid $215 for the next house. Bigger, still 3 bedrooms, but it was 2 bathrooms. It was newer. That was the biggest thing. It was in a great neighborhood, actually pretty close to yours. And I think that was the smartest move, was the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And fully fenced backyard. She had a hot tub. She upgraded carpet, blinds, paint. I don't remember what else she added, but just little things. We just sold that house for $343.
Jeez. So now she went from 60,000 to a little over 100, right?
Yep. And her initial investment was only what,
$3,200.
Okay. And guess what? She just bought her dream home for $560,000, which, yes, that's a big amount, but the equity,
it's the steps. Yeah.
Yes, it's not too big of a stretch for her down payment or for her monthly payment every month. It's literally her dream home. She was going to build, and they found this house, and it was perfect, and it was already done. They didn't have to wait for a builder. They didn't have to wait for construction loan and all that. Yeah. And now it's like, it's the perfect home. They can host the parties that they want to, the people. They have parents that come visit them and need to stay with them. It's 6 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. I think it was built in 2015. Beautiful back patio with a gas fireplace, a hot tub. It's covered. They have a huge garage, like 3 oversized car, because they work on cars. So anyways, literally the perfect home.
The best.
Actually, such a good story. Yeah. So
that's great.
That is why I do what I do. That is why I tell people, even if it's not your dream home, just buy now.
So I want to kind of dive into this a little bit further. So when did they buy their first house? You said 2020?
I want to say it was, no, she must have bought it 2017. Though.
Okay. Either way. So 2017, and we're in 2024.
That was the very first household. That was the $90,000 house. Was like
but still, we're talking from 17 to 2024. That's 6-7 years at most that she has made her way up and is in a house that's 5 times better, or 5 times more expensive, but also better.
Yes.
Probably not mathematically explainable how much better it is, just because she's got everything in there that she wants, right?
Yeah.
But in 5 years, this is what this person did, based off of your initial conversation with her, saying that this is your first step. So yeah, I mean, that is awesome, and that's a great story to have, because that's how first time home buyers should look at this process. Is hey, I know this is not going to be my last house, but this is what it takes to get to the house, because you're not going to go from being a first time home buyer and probably find that $500,000 house that you're going to be able to move in and afford, and 3.5% down.
No.
And, there's a lot that goes to it, and then just the appreciation of homes. Waiting is going to hurt you more, in my opinion, if you're trying to wait for that 4th house per se as your first house.
Mm-mm.
You can't
Don't.
wait for it because it's going to grow out of your range the entire
Mhm.
time that you're trying to do it. So
And one thing we're seeing a lot of lately, and I wonder how this will play into it, because a lot of the people who I've helped buy their first house, it's a single family home. Like, it's not big or anything, but
yeah,
it's on its own, single family with a yard or whatever. And now we're seeing so many townhomes built, and adjacent homes, like twin homes. And sometimes that's like the only option. It's more affordable. You are sharing a wall sometimes or
yeah,
whatever, but even if it's just a townhome, I feel like buying that as your first home could be so good, because you can rent it out later, and you can make money from renters in the future. You could also sell it, but
yeah.
what a good first step. I think, now that we're seeing single family homes are quite unaffordable for a lot of first time home buyers, don't look past a townhome or a twin home or
Yeah.
duplex or
And
something.
they're still expensive, but they are more affordable, like you said. And in our market, I think that 250 ish area is kind of where that first time home buyer's got to be prepared to get into if it's an available option. You can find that in a townhome pretty easily.
Absolutely.
And then you can find some houses that need a little bit of elbow grease
Yeah, you can for
for
250
that
here. You
250 range.
absolutely can.
So
Totally.
I
I
think it's
believe
something
that.
that that first time home buyers should look at, especially in our area, and consider that this is the first initial step. If you know that 250, so what's 3.5% of the 250? So we can just kind of play that scenario
Seven
too.
7,000.
Well,
Oh,
85 because you got the 0.5%.
oh.
So 8750 is going to be your down payment per se for that $250,000 home. There are programs, especially in the state of Idaho that we work in, that you can get down payment assistance, so you're not having to bring that entire amount down. It is a financed fund, so you want to mitigate that and have that as minimal as possible that you're financing. But there's ways in, and I think this is a great first step. So
Absolutely.
um, I'm just going to put that asterisk by it again. But first time home buyers, if you're looking at buying a house, don't go look for your dream house right away. Look for steps to move you towards that direction.
Totally.
So
And that 8,000 for your down payment, that could come from your tax return. I
yep,
mean,
yeah, you
everybody's
can get
getting
tax
tax
return off
returns
that.
right
Yep.
now. You can use that.
This can be gift money. So on an FHA loan, not to get too nerdy on this conversation because I really want to stick to the realtor side, but an FHA loan, you can get 6% seller concession or 6% gift funds that are not from yourself. So technically, you can get enough to cover it. It's just finding the right realtor, and if you have family members that can help, they can
Mhm.
help walk you through that path and what your likelihood of getting that amount of money is. So, no,
Mm.
great, great, great. So, as a realtor, and you can be as candid as you want to, or as deep dive into it as you want to, but the NAR situation,
Mhm.
how do you feel like that's going to affect our buyers, especially first time home buyers that don't come in with that amount of equity that they can turn into another home?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I really don't think, until we know exactly how it's going to turn out, if cuz we don't quite know yet if
Yeah,
sellers are going to be not allowed to pay a buyer's agent at all. Right now all they're saying is you can't advertise it in the MLS,
right.
right?
Well,
And
that's
I
broker to broker, though, right?
it's on the MLS.
Yeah,
So, yeah, you can't advertise on the MLS how much money the buyer's agent will be getting paid. So, I mean, really all we're going to have to do is call and say, "Hey, selling agent or listing agent, how much
yeah.
is your seller willing to pay a buyer's agent commission, yes or no?" I have a feeling for a while, I think for the most part, people will say yes, because I think sellers see the value in paying and
Well,
compensating a buyer's agent
if they have a good realtor
who can
that's
explain it.
explaining
Yes.
that's the difference here. And I think that's where I think Idaho has handled before this whole lawsuit occurred. They
Mhm.
handled how these transactions go about correctly. They've given very explicit, like the explanation of why these certain things are in your contract
Mhm.
is very easy for you to follow.
Mhm.
Not all states are doing that, and that's honestly why this is occurring in the states that it's occurring in. But I'm thankful that we kind of already have these wheels in motion, and a lot of the stuff that's kind of getting added per
Mhm.
se was already addressed in our contracts, right?
It was, and we've always had a buyer's representation agreement in Idaho. Also, commission's always been negotiable. So people who are reading like,
Yeah.
oh, realtors no longer get 6%,
That's
that's
never been the
never been the
case.
case. It's never always just been 6%. I've never once said that to a
No.
seller. And I think that's a big misconception. And I think talking about it and having the DOJ, bring these lawsuits to people's attention is actually a really good thing. I
Yeah.
think it makes the consumer want to read through their contracts more and be very careful, which they always should have been, but it's important to do that anyways. And then it's also important because now realtors are learning how to explain their value. And I still think a good realtor is totally worth their commission, whatever amount that is. I think they are absolutely worth it. And if an agent doesn't pull their weight or bring value and act as a professional, then maybe they're not worth paying a commission to. I think a lot of times buyers and sellers could probably do it better by themselves than with a realtor. But a good realtor, it is worth it,
Yeah.
and they
That's the difference.
yes.
That's the difference. And knowing that when you're having that initial conversation with the realtor, um, that you're out looking to have someone assist you in these transactions, understand that when you're talking to realtors, that you're talking to them to find out how knowledgeable they are and how much they care about this transaction for you, and not as just a paycheck on their
No,
ends.
and what Joe said on your podcast last time, like I shouldn't want I shouldn't want you to buy this house more than you want to buy
All
this
right,
house.
right.
We do not need to be pushing. I think that's where things are going to kind of come out of the woodworks. Like you're going to see agents get desperate because we have, maybe your commission is being called into question, or
Yeah.
interest rates are almost making it harder for buyers. So you have a little bit, I would say, fewer transactions happening than we've seen in the last few years, and so you see agents that are willing to be a little more desperate or pushy, or maybe less ethical and less upfront because they just want the sale to happen. Like
Yeah.
they have families to feed and they have like they need to bring home a paycheck, right? So they're getting anxious, so they're willing to do whatever. And I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest issue is we are going to start seeing that. And I don't want that. And I think if agents have to explain why they're being paid, what they're being paid, and asking buyers to pay them, that it is going to end up being a good thing. And I
Yeah.
think this whole lawsuit will actually be very positive for the industry. And I think agents who don't know how to explain why they're getting paid what they're getting paid will no longer be around, and it'll kind of, the trash will take itself out
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
kind of
that's
what's
good.
going to
That's a good
happen.
way. And you know what? I think a lot of it, and I wasn't around in 2000. Well, I was around, but I wasn't in the mortgage industry in 2008, 2009 when um, we had to go through this whole
Mhm.
situation with
Mhm.
the regulations being changed. There
Mhm.
was a lot of sleaziness, if you would say, that was going on prior
Absolutely.
to this, and it
Mhm.
needed it. And I'm not saying I honestly, most of the realtors that I
Mhm.
talk to, great
Good
people,
people.
understand
Mhm.
this, but we have to consider the best interest of our home buyers. And in one bad realtor is a valid enough reason for these regulations and these changes to be
Yes.
at least spoken about.
I think so. And I
So,
think the more it's talked about and the more that it's brought to the public's attention, the better it is. I
agreed.
honestly
All
think
right, so
it'll be
let's
good.
let's cut that chapter out because that's not the fun part. But um, so if you let's act as if you are helping a buyer get into purchasing a home.
Mhm.
What's your initial first consultation? How does that look?
So I actually just had one this last week. It's I need to get to know the client really well first. I think you need to kind of see what is their motivation for moving. Is it their first house? Are they upgrading? Are they leaving the state? You have to know why they're moving
Yeah,
before you can help them best. So I just try to get to know them. And then I always say get a pre-qualification letter. Talk
yeah,
to a lender if you haven't yet.
yep.
That's always the first step. And honestly, I just tell my clients that there's a lot of steps in a transaction and it is overwhelming. And so what I like to do is I'll give you the overview, I'll give you the sheet that shows all the steps, but I'm only going to tell you the next step. Like when we're talking and we're in a transaction, I'm going to say, okay, the next thing is your earnest money. Next thing is your inspection. Here's 3 inspectors you can
I like
call.
that.
And I try not to overwhelm them
That's yeah,
because it's so
it is.
emotional and it's hard. And if you're like already thinking about closing,
Yeah,
but we're not through the first few steps, then you're not gonna have a good time. It's gonna be really stressful. And my job is to take the stress out of the transaction. I need to be the filter for my
yeah,
clients. And I always, honestly, I always tell my buyers and sellers, Moving is one of the most stressful things you can do in your life.
Yeah.
Changing your job, moving, having a death or divorce in your life, those are the most stressful life events we can have. And moving is one of them. You're probably going to cry. You're probably going to get mad at each other. You're probably going to have a few fights. Just be okay with it now. And remember that it's you guys against the problem. You're not against each other.
Yeah.
Let's be on the same page. I try really hard to make sure that if it's a couple I'm working with, that we're on the same page and we have good communication, so it makes the whole transaction smoother. So I kind of just set, honestly, I just set the groundwork for the way that I want it to go. I want them to ask me every question they have. If it's stupid, I love stupid
Yeah.
questions. That's my favorite thing, is if you're
There's no
worried about
such thing,
something,
honestly, in our
absolutely
industry.
not. And I know that, you're only buying and selling a house every 5 or so years.
Yeah.
You're not going to remember everything. It's
Nope.
my job to remember it. So just
What things change in 5 to
they
7 years?
do. It's going to be different. And so it's my job to make sure that you have as little stress as possible, that you feel informed, that we have a good time. I always like to, laugh and make it fun for my
Yeah.
clients. But anyway, so I have a great buyer's consultation
You do, and
packet.
you just did it. Well, I helped you with the first time homebuyers class that we
Yeah.
did, and that consultation is super, super helpful.
So good. It's just good because then people know, like, hey, it's about 30 days. Like, not even everybody knows it's about 30 days from the
Mhm.
time you put an offer into the time you're closing on the house. Like, that's our timeline.
That's the
And so,
standard, yeah.
yeah, so you have a lot. There's so much that goes into it, but I have a packet that I give them. I have lots of local resources, and honestly, I just email every next step. I'm telling my clients, here's what's going to happen next. Here's our
That's smart.
deadline. Here's what I recommend. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm taking care of X, Y, and Z, or I'll meet with the inspector, or I'm going to call the lender and double check when the appraisal's done, or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll schedule our closing. I'll make sure it works for your work schedule. And that's it. Like, I am the professional in the transaction, and I try to establish that credibility at the very beginning, because I've been walked over, and I've had people who don't respect me or who don't think I know what I'm talking about.
But guess what?
They don't listen to me, and then it turns out really poorly. And so if I can establish respectfully and kindly that I know what I'm
That I am the
talking about,
professional, yeah.
yes, then I think the transaction goes much better. And it is not just me. Like, we have a team that we're
Yeah,
working with. We
that's
have
true.
so much help in the transaction from our escrow people and your underwriters, your processing team.
There's so many people behind the scenes
So
that the
many.
buyers don't even see
No.
that definitely play a role. So you said something that I really want to hit on, and that was that the professional side,
Mhm.
and not. I mean, I will pat you on your back because I think you do an
Mm,
outstanding job.
thank
That's
you.
one characteristic that I had noticed early on in our transactions and our professional relationship that we have had, is that you're not scared to say, look, this is the process and this is where we are, but be assertive in it, but be kindful in the sense of, hey, I'm going to make sure that I'm taking care of you, but this is the reason why I do it this
Mhm.
way. Right.
Yes,
So
thank
I
you.
love it. I think it's good. I think it's good, good way to be in our industry. And you have to be, because if not, confused buyers don't buy. It's what
Yeah,
I've always been told. So if you're leading,
absolutely.
if you start off the conversation like you just said and give them all 10 points of what the transaction is going to look like, hey, by the way, you go ahead and fill in these blanks, all 10 of them. Yeah, they're going to be so confused. They're going to like, I don't know what to do now.
I don't know how to call an appraiser.
So they're going to just like not be able to
Mm-mm,
move forward. So
mm-mm.
good plan there. So let's scoot on a little bit further. So now that they've bought their house, what should a home buyer expect out of a realtor
After the
after the
closing.
transaction? Yeah.
Dude, if you're a realtor just like pieces out and never talks to you after the closing, that's not a good realtor. I'm
Nope.
sorry, but
Nope.
I love continuing a relationship. I have a lot of referrals from people who have helped buy and sell in the past,
Yeah.
and it's because I stay in their life, and I actually love to send out quarterly little gifts or pop buys or whatever. One time I did jams, like jellies and jams, and I said real estate is my jam, and I dropped them off to every client that I worked with.
Right.
But I just do cute little things, lottery tickets, home maintenance checklist, like just little things every quarter.
Yeah.
And it just helps to keep the relationship alive.
Yeah, and I think that's the way any transaction. You're talking about something that's probably going to be the most expensive thing that they
Absolutely.
buy.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't end at the closing table, right?
Mm-mm.
So there's going to be questions that come up about servicing of their loan. There's going to be questions about, hey, is it time to make that move?
Mm-hmm.
And if you stay in contact and make those quarterly touches, they know who to go back to.
They do. And I have gotten referrals from people. And
Yep.
most of the time people don't remember their realtors because we just peace out once we get our
Yeah.
paycheck. And
Yeah, it's not common.
I don't like that.
I don't either. And I'm like you. I mean, our town is big in the sense of where I'm from, but I mean, it's a good sized town. And it's easy to get lost
Oh
and
yeah,
like
people
not
have
see each other, right?
no, yeah,
But
yeah.
if we're also small enough and community driven wise enough that we can make those connections, still see those people and still be in contact with those people through that life transaction. Because what is it, about every 5 to 7 years
I
is
was told
usual?
3 to 5, but
Okay.
then I heard 5 to 10, so I'm
Yeah.
not really sure. 3 to
Five.
8 years.
So somewhere around that five is
Yeah.
likely a time that either they're going to refinance or do some kind of
Mhm.
transaction with their house. So
Mhm.
good, good, good. Anything else for a buyer that you would recommend so that they can be knowledgeable in the sense of what it takes to get that initial step started?
I honestly just think hiring the right people is the best thing you can do because you don't need to know what you're doing if you hire the right person.
Yeah.
So interview agents would probably be my biggest advice. You don't just go with your aunt because she's licensed. Like, go ask your friends and family and coworkers who do they use and who did they recommend, and then go interview them. Like, have multiple people that you're asking, and decide who you vibe best with. Which agent do you feel comfortable asking questions with? Because you spend a
It's
lot of time together.
personality. Yeah.
Yeah, you do, and you don't want to, hate their personality
Yeah.
for you're going to hate your life for the next 2 months if you
Right.
don't like your realtor. So you
Right.
need to make sure that you guys get along well and that you feel like you're respected and that your questions are getting answered. And then if they're a good realtor, they will take care of it. You don't have to worry about anything else.
I like
They're
it.
just going to take you through it and hold your hand the whole time.
I always tell my realtor partners, like, I feel like I do a good professional job in what I do to get to the closing table.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that my personality is going to be the fit for every buyer
Sure.
that you have or anybody has. So I understand that process. I want to be. I hate when they're just like straight business, no getting along. Hey, how's the family
Oh,
doing? I just
yeah.
hate it like that. So I love it. I love making sure I match that personality of or the personality of the buyers that we
Mm-hmm.
have together. So
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I think it's a good decision or good way to look at um, for home buyers that are going into the process to interview people and say, okay, no, this is actually
Yeah.
Kelly's a great person. She is knowledgeable, but she's also a great person. So, well, good, good, good. So, I always ask, this is the one question that I ask everybody
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like I use it a lot. And I think it's something that if we don't identify it and use it, that we will get lost in it. And that's AI. I love AI for our industry because some people are scared. They think it's going to take over our industry and get rid of some of
It
the.
might.
But I think it's going to make our work easier in the sense of the monotonous work side of it, but give us the ability to be more personable, go out and find new people because you can't get that on AI. So, what's your take on AI and how do you use AI?
I like it for the most part. I don't really, okay, this is going to sound
You're
really
28 now, don't?
controversial. I know. I can tell when you used AI to write your listing description.
Yeah,
So yes, use it as a jumping off point. Don't just copy and paste it. But
that
anyways,
that is true.
it drives me nuts when
Yes,
I
that is
read.
true.
Anyways, I have used AI for like home buyer guides and seller
Yeah,
guides because that is one thing that has a lot of text in it that I like to make sure it sounds really good and professional. But I I try really hard not to just use
copy and
AI.
paste.
Yep, nope. I wanna use it as a generator for me. But
That's
I
right.
also have a mass communications degree, and so talking and typing and writing is like something that comes easily and naturally
Good.
for me. So I don't necessarily need it for that kind of thing all the time. But if I'm drawing a blank or I'm just like getting writer's block for something, if it's a caption for social media or
That's
if
what I
it's
use it for.
yeah, it's a good thing I think to help you get an idea and it might spark something else. But, you kind of have to go a little bit deeper than,
Yeah,
especially Chat GPT. I feel like it's very surface level right now. I mean,
yeah,
who knows the future as we use it more and more, it'll hopefully get better. But I think it is a good jumping off point.
I agree. So I use it for my social media. Almost every social media post that I make, I at least start there
Mm-hmm.
because there's just words that I don't use normally.
Yeah.
And that's what I prompt it to say, like, I need words that are going to touch the algorithm of Facebook or touch the algorithm
Yeah.
of
Have a good
Instagram.
hook or
Like, so I need
whatever.
a hook. Yeah. But I never, and you should never copy and paste that directly because like you said, you can honestly tell.
Can I just spill some tea really quick?
Spill it.
I saw this business and they asked this question in their social media post to try to get some interaction from their people who follow them, and they replied to somebody's comment, and the top part of their comment said, a good response would be
Come on, you got to take
blah
it
blah
out.
blah. They forgot to
You
delete
gotta
that
take it out.
part. I was like,
And you got to take out the quotation marks.
that's hilarious. Yeah. So I was dying. So don't do that.
Don't do that. So, and then another thing. So this is where the monotonous side of AI has helped me on my back end. So I work for Premier Mortgage Resources, and we built an AI bot that is secured in the sense that it doesn't go back out to
Oh, good.
Google,
Yeah.
which you need in our industry because we do
Mhm.
deal with a lot of private personal information, or what we call PPI, and you don't want that getting out to Google, right, or to just the mass internet. So what we can do, and I don't use it for contract stuff, but I do have all of my regulations, which are thousands and thousands and thousands of pages,
Oof.
that are built into this bot. And if I go in there and I say, look, there's some small crazy tidbit information that I just don't know off the top of my head
Mhm.
that deal with regs, and that could really kill a deal. But if something comes up that I haven't heard of before, for example, I was working on a deal in North Carolina, and they North Carolina has a lot of flood zones, and the house that they were buying was super weird. They had built an office onto the side of the house, but it didn't have an entry door inside. So, long story short, where the office lied on that property line was technically, it was just the corner portion of the office fell into the flood zone. Well, we had to get a cert engineer to come out to evaluate that, and he failed it because he said it was in a flood zone.
Oh no.
I was like, but it's to me, it was an additional building
Mhm.
because again, there was no pass through to the house. He had
Mhm.
to walk outside to get
Separate.
to. Yep. But in the regs, it clearly states that all it takes for a structure to be considered a single structure is for the wood to be nailed together. Doesn't
What?
have to have a door to touch. So that was a single structure. It killed that deal.
Oh no. I
Yeah.
thought this was going to be a good
No, no, no.
story.
But it was a lesson learned. And I
Oh.
mean, we wouldn't have known that at the beginning anyways, because the way the flood zone was, it was so
Mhm.
far, it looked like it would have been fine. But long story short, that's something that now I know if I'm looking at close to a flood zone, I want to know how this structure looks. If it's nailed, one nail is all it takes. If something's nailed to it, then
That's
this
it.
is going to kill the deal.
Mm.
So yeah, it's important to have that. But what I'm getting at is that I can now look at those stuff on this AI bot and not have to read page after page after
Oh,
page after
thank
page of
God.
regulations. Now, AI is not perfect, so if you get an answer and you're just kind of fishy or not quite direct in the answer, then you do need to research it a little bit further. And you should never take AI as, oh, that's correct. Because it's almost like trusting Wikipedia, and that's not the case here. So
Oh, that would be so bad.
yeah, so just be careful with it. Well, Kelly, I cannot thank you enough. Again, I know that you and I both are family first, so we've got families to get back to, but we also got work to do as well. But I want to make sure people know how to reach you.
Sure.
So if someone is in our area, Southeast Idaho, or wherever you can service them, what's the quickest and fastest way to get in touch with Kelly Cammack?
Shoot me a text,
Shoot.
208-380-0277. I'm also on Instagram. What I've been trying to do is post every day for 30 days. So my Instagram is actually popping right now, but
Good
it's
for you.
at realtor.kellycammack. So you can follow me on there. But yeah,
Say that again. I think I was talking.
at realtor.kellycammack.
Yeah.
That's real easy. Realtor
Nice.
period and then my name. But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it was a blast, Kelly. You're always fun to talk to. So good. And well, I am Brooks. I work with Premier Mortgage Resources here in Idaho. If you have any lending questions, I'd love to help you. But if not, I look forward to seeing you next week. Talk to you soon.